Well, previously I've activated the world's smallest POTA park, and this is the most devastating, explosive POTA park, I reckon, because here at Fauld in Staffordshire, near the village of Hanbury, on 11 minutes past 11 on the 27th of November 1944, some chaps working down in a bomb storage facility managed to use the wrong chisel, allegedly, on the wrong fuse, and depends which sign you look at and what you read up on Wiki, about 4,000 tons of bombs stored down there went up. And this is where we started, with a load of stuff in here, and more on the wellies soon. I thought I'd put this in. This is the historic Bailey Bridge on the way at Walton-on-Trent, or Walton-on-Trent. It's soon to be, well, they're going to keep it here. This is the old Bailey Bridge, but there's going to be a new bridge put in. But literally, it's a bit of a wait. And then we're going to go through the village of Barton under traffic, or is it Barton under Needle? I think more accurately Barton under traffic. Once we get through there, it's plain sailing to Hanbury. Just give you a bit of an idea if you're heading out this way. More to see, and this Bailey Bridge is rather entertaining, particularly if you come across a 42-ton lorry at the other end. You know you're heading into a lovely spot when you see signs like that. Here we are, parked up. This is the Cock Inn. And somebody's pulling up here. We kindly allow within tolerance, I think, is to use this. And what we're going to do is just head off in that direction to walk to this place. Interesting antennas. Just an antenna spotty thing on top of the old water tower there. It is for Des Res. It's directly opposite the pub. And this is the entrance to the walk. If you watch on YouTube where walkers have done this, ramblers, what do you want to call them, they reckon this gets really, really muddy. Now this area is well known for its, let's say, clay soil. So, as I've said already, I've come I just fell over doing that. I've come in my wellies. Let's get the wellies on. These are Grubbs Wellingtons, and I bought them last year in March, just as the weather turned, and probably the best summer in anybody's living memory. And they just split, just standing still. Anyway, eventually, after much argument, lovely allotment here at the back of the, well, proper allotment here. Thriving allotment at the back of the Cock Inn. Anyway, we, won the battle eventually, so these are the latest pair. Probably, they reckon you have to rub oil in your wellies, as I meander along here, to keep them in good nick. And I googled it and it's right, but I've had wellies for flipping years. Never had a problem. Never. And we do have several pairs of wellies knocking about. Now, here we go. Great views over in the distance. So you're pretty high up here. They do occasionally have cycle hill climbs because they're at the top of somewhere called Hanbury Hill. And there, over there, you can see we've got a, let's get that right. There you can see over there. There's a telephone mast which we're heading towards. So yeah, one of these parks, which is really beautiful. So just to point out on this one, for those people who are super strict on their POTA rules, quite right too. Oh, look at that, by the way, click at that. You can't really zoom in enough there. They've got an amazing view. They've cut through that hedge there. And when you come up here, you can see that yourself. But anyway, just going back. So the car park is over there, which is not part of this, because what we need to do is to get onto some state land, which is the Ministry of Defence land, which is this Fauld Explosion site, which you've just heard all about. And when we're on there, then it is the official POTA. Everywhere else isn't. You'll get to this spot here, which is, let's call it a kissing gate. Amazing views over there, really beautiful. This is heart lifting stuff. Anyway, I've got to use my hands now. So just come up here, got to here. If I keep filming like this, I'm never going to get there. But anyway, we're heading over in that direction. So it's pretty straightforward. And of course, you've already got your app. There is 4G here on the O2 network. So we do have some signal as well, which is a bit of a bonus for navigation. Here we go. Another one of these kissing gates. Right by the foam mast. There it is. Great views, and just over there you can see that's blinking marvellous marshland. Absolutely fantastic for wildlife, of course. But yes, a rather beautiful walk. I'll tell you what, this hasn't been walked for a while. There's plenty of tripping hazards and stuff like that. He says with 2 backpacks on, one at the front, one at the back. So yes, back to watching me say we've made it out of Middle Earth. Still a few pheasant on the way because it's pheasant shoot season. And here we have another style. And I need to check Google Maps. As I say, the views over here are, keep repeating myself, rather delightful. A lot of waterfowl here, so there must be water, clearly. Anyway, off with the romp. For those people who know me, you won't be disappointed to know I think I've gone slightly wrong. It's years since I've walked this. Anyway, there's a path here. What I thought was waterfowl. I've got Nicky Blinking Campbell on radio, BBC Radio 5 playing in my ears at the same time as this, all about something that's going off at the BBC today. But anyway, that's not waterfowl. That is the gypsum works. And this is what happened here in the Second World War, is gypsum was being mined here, and they used the mines, as you will have read probably on Wikipedia at some point in the past or something like that, if you're not aware. But anyway, they used the gypsum mines for storing the munitions for World War II. Anyway, yes, so that's what that is. I think I've got a longer romp than is required. Now, one of the things that's happened today, as you're taking in this view, is I've pulled some connections off my spare battery from an IC 705. So I will be using that nude, let's say, and that puts even more pressure to get back home because I've got a set period of time because the oven person is coming to service the oven today and I've got to be back for that. Anyway, mega views, mega views. You can see it's somewhat risky going through this place. Anyway, I should have come down this hedge where I showed you the marshy field earlier. Marshy field, let's zoom in. That's where we're heading for. Tell you what, hard going here I am on this, what could be a boggy field, but fortunately it hasn't changed that way with loads of rain last night. But yeah, it's not too bad here. There's the odd slippy bit. So I've been through Middle Earth and all that sort of stuff, as I've told you. Just about to get to another style, and I'm just about to get into the MOD bit. Here we are, entering the official MOD site, Ministry of Defence. Here we go. Okay, so let's zoom out. There's a bit of a track up here. I think if I knew what I was doing, I could have made it onto this track and probably be in about the same place now. Anyway, got some signs for forestry work. Here we go. Ministry of Defence, property keep out. Danger, unexploded bombs. Now, he's got pheasant up there. Few stories to tell you. Here is this, I think was shut down in the 1970s, I'm pretty sure. Now, before that, Dickie, the chair of our club, South Derbyshire and Ashby and the Wolds Amateur Radio Club. I usually get the name slightly wrong, but you get the idea. It's a great amateur radio club, by the way, if you're in this area. Fantastic. But anyway, he used to play in here, and a mate of mine, Kev Sharrett, used to be beating on a shoot in here on exploded bombs. But they decided at some point to do it, and every year they come along here. Once a year, it's the bomb disposal people, and they check this perimeter for unexploded bombs and check just inside the perimeter as well and make sure the perimeter is present. Here we go. More warnings. A bit like if you go near your plonker. Here we go. More warnings. As somebody said to me, just be careful how much RF you put on it, Dave. Oh, yeah, that's right. So if any of you have ever had very basic bomb disposal training, one thing we were told, and bear in mind this is the 1980s, is not to use your radio anywhere near an unexploded bomb. So we used to get calls in those days in a pub doorway, there we are at More Pheasant, in a pub doorway there was a potential unexploded bomb. So you have to turn up and then make a call where they call out bomb disposal. I thought that was interesting then, public footpath and this big. So obviously here, beware. I think that's more about bogginess rather than bombs, let's say. Let's hope so. Anyway, so yes, to use RF nowhere near it. So that's quite interesting. So as you can see so far with this, it takes a bit of an effort to get here. So if you are a, let's say, car-bound radiometer for very good reasons, as in, you know, you've got older and you can't use your legs as well, even if you've got a mobility scooter, this would be a bit of a challenge. Well, be a huge challenge. If you're an able-bodied radiometer, then you can get on site. And we're going to see how this fits in with the definition of a park for the park police. As I said already, it is a park, it's got a defined boundary, and also it's state-owned. So that so far ticks those boxes. What about the other ones that we'd like as well? There we go, more signs to show you here. Tell by the worn away ground here, this is a bit of a viewing spot. Because down there it's 100 foot deep. When this went off, it was the biggest non-nuclear explosion in World War II. And it was the biggest explosion on mainland Britain. And you could get a bit of an idea along here. I know I've seen a video where my son has got drone footage here for years, but since they put the geofences, we're not a million miles away from St George's Park, the England Football Club training ground. And at the side of that is Tatenhall Airfield. And some people have been geofenced, and it's brought the drones down here, but I see that other people on YouTube have managed it. Good news. By the way, if you're wondering whether they're using AirPods and not the DJI things, the DJI things I think need to go back. They suffer from terrible distortion, hence these things. But good news, let me show you where we are. We're here at the site. And look what we have as well, folks. We have a bench. Coming into the Dave G3 LRC definition, we are at a park, defined boundary, owned by the state, according to the American definition. And here's details, once again, all about this and what we have. Armistice Day tomorrow, by the way, so it's a poignant time. Just put some stuff down. And that's all those people that got destroyed. Many were never ever found. Such was the devastation. 4,000 pounds apparently, something like that, explosives. You'll see it in the description. That's probably not correct, and they're the wreaths from last year. I say new wreaths will no likely be laid by the RAF or others tomorrow. Here's a correction. Now I've read on some it says this is old-fashioned tons, not TONNES tons, the metric. 3,500 tons. I've seen 4,000 tons used as well. And here the crater, this says, was approximately 300 feet deep. So another correction corner from me. That gives you a bit of an idea of what this was like. Horrendous. Before I set up, tell you this humorous story here, if there is one out of this. And this was at an exhibition that was shown at the Lichfield Library years ago when I found out about this place, living not that far away from it. Lichfield's about 15 miles that way. And the press clippings and all sorts. And there was an insurance man. And in the UK, once upon a time, used to have these guys used to collect weekly premiums from people's doors, the local insurance man. And this guy was collecting his premiums from somebody's door. The bomb went off and he was found naked in the embrace with the woman in the garden. And he said the explosion threw him into her arms, straight through the house, and ripped the clothes off. What we're using today is a Longwire again. And I've made a counterpoise. This is roughly 12 metres long. And this will attach onto here rather than using the tunable counterpoise, and see how we get with that. And we're going to try and elevate it just a few feet off the ground, because that should help with ground loss. Just something I do, just to let you know, when I just tie a single thread onto here. This is just gardening twine. I do have some pucker stuff, but that's another story. And I use a falconer's knot, loop them up. It's really great. Worst thing that ever happen is this twine will break. But the falconer's knot means one-handed you can tie a knot, and one-handed you can undo it. Apologies for the blood. That's what you get for extreme poaching. Okay, we're all set up. What I need to do now is to get these out the bag, which is my Heil headphones. So that's the next step in this process. Oh yeah, essential piece of kit, plastic bag so I don't get a wet bum. If you recall when we started off here, it was beautiful and sunny. Now, no, we're due rain about 12. I've had a bit of a mare, to be frank, and it was the IC705. And so I'm just going for a short walk to show you, see if there's anything else to show you around here, because I seem to think there is. But anyway, it's just very clay around here, well trodden. Lots of dog walkers have been chatted to, local lovely people from the village of Hanbury. Anyway, IC705, just got no signal. And my ATU was tuning the wire, and then when I went into proper transmit mode, SWR was out. Well, impedance was out. Anyway, so what we did is have a play about again and come to the old thing, partial reset, and the IC705 seems to cure all ills. So I've done a partial reset and it's working. And so there's amazing views. Anyway, I think I'm just going to go round and round. I seem to remember flagpoles and all sorts. They're probably on another side of this, and I shouldn't get too far from the radio. Anyway, yeah, the bit of an outlet. So sorted that out, put out some CQs, and nothing. Spotted myself on the POTA app, nothing. And I was thinking, God, this is dire. Anyway, looking at the weather, it's going really grey, and I swore to myself I was only going to do SSB today or CW. And what am I doing? I'm just going, just go on to FT8. And I try and locate my glasses, which I thought I'd lost, and all that sort of stuff. So I don't want to do this as an FT8 activation. I know there's some of you going to be sitting there, FT8 isn't radio. I even heard about somebody put on social media that they would stab anybody who mentioned FT8. Strange people. Anyway, the good news is the locals were telling me here. Always get some good chats with dog walkers, fellow dog walkers. Anyway, what they were telling me was this place was open for years, and there's 80-year-olds living in the village who've still got all the legs and arms and everything. Oh, good God, that was FT8 just grabbed my ears. Anyway, after that scare from FT8, got too close to my iPad. What the villagers were telling me was people, used to play in here, and they've said, if you think about it, all the trees have grown up. They would have thought any munitions that would have been in there would have been set off by the trees growing and the roots growing over the years. But anyway, thankfully, we're not going to go down there and try and have all that. We're just here by this rather solemn monument, trying to get a few QSOs, and they are coming in. Now, I know there's a gypsum mine over in that direction, hence this is where these shafts were, as I mentioned earlier when I was on my trudge. But around here, there shouldn't be too much interference. And there is space here, if you do come here, I reckon, to get a good vertical up like the DX Commander with lots of radials, and definitely do that. The trees on this particular spot are nowhere near high enough really to get good ground. I've just got a sloped dipole really here tuned, and I think the ground effect must be ridiculous. I'm on 40 metres, as good old Callum says at DX Commander when we were having a chat once. Bit of wire over a bush seems to work on 40 metres, but it's just about working today. Most signal reports are amazing, to be frank. But yeah, I think definitely this is where I would bring a vertical to if it trudge across with all the radials. And that's the point. And I was watching Mark the Handman from Florida, and it started to rain. I might have to abandon this. But anyway, what his point was that these Faraday sheets and all this sort of stuff, they aren't as efficient. They aren't, right? You get big losses off them. Well, decent sized losses, 25%, whatever. But the thing is, it's what you can carry on a POTA and what will get you in activation. And there are so many compromises. He's bang on, but there are so many compromises you have to make sometimes just because where you have to trudge to get your kit to. Back on the memorial. So in memory of those who lost their lives in the Fauld Explosion, 27th of November 1944, the first 18 people named of no known grave in this crater as their resting place. It is well worth reading the history on this place. Absolutely horrendous. But essentially, so farms were wiped out, the pub was wiped out, as you've probably seen on the pub history. You know, I say the farm completely disappeared, pub disappeared, loads of buildings in the villages around. It was heard miles and miles and miles away. And yeah, lives were lost. It was an accident, somebody using the wrong chisel when they were defusing bombs. There were prisoners of war down there, and there's all sorts of conspiracy theories, but you know, I don't think people were suicidal. I want to get back to the families, and I'm just showing you. I don't know if you can get a bit of an idea of that, but that is incredibly deep down there. So please have a read of the history. I know on the UK Pox on the Air group on Facebook, some folks had a wiki of it, and they were amazed. Oh yeah, I need to do a little bit of calling out on here to see what we can do. Because where am I? I'm 7 and I need 10. Oh, I'll tell you what, my signal reports are really duff. And people who don't like Longwires are going, there you go, Dave, Longwires are rubbish. And I tell you what, yeah, I should have bought a vertical today, but it shoulda, coulda, woulda, all that sort of stuff. Sorry. This is the walk back. Flipping grim. I got my timing totally and utterly wrong. Just managed to get the 10 in. Anyway, more about it in a bit. Good label here about responsibility of your dogs and the sheep. There's sheep right over there. But anyway, I'm going to tell you, in the field, you can't see it, there's a black cow. And one of the dog walkers was telling me it's a heifer on a young one. And he reckons it's a flipping lunatic around dogs. So if you come over here and you see a black cow and you've bought a dog on your POTA, just stray away or stay away. Anyway, nearly back at the car. It's about a mile walk, just to let you know. A mile walk. This is PSK Reporter, just showing just how dreadful my signal was today. But anyway, here's the good news that comes out of this. 10 park-to parks, 10 QSOs, 10 park-to parks. So thanks ever so much for the wonderful people who made contact with me. And if you were looking for a great logging program that's better than the old ones, try World Radio League. As I get back to the village of Blimey, slight distraction there. They're into camper vans there in their house. As I get back to the village of Hanbury and the rebuilt Cock-In, if you're a Terry Pratchett fan, you remember the Mended Drum Pub, a bit like that. So as you know, this place was blown up. I don't get through here. Yeah, whoa, lovely village, lovely people, great POTA. And I take, if I got hand free, I take my cap off to G0HIO, Mick, and G0TRB, Roger. As you know, I was G0 yesterday, fellow G0s who'd made this epic sludge to get there and activate this POTA before me. And yeah, good one, real cracker. But do read the history, please. And how do I finish this, really? Need to check out that Longwires situation. I might be eating my words on Longwires. Anyway, 73s.